Liza never took a phone call in front of me, not one. That was the sign I chose to ignore. I told myself she valued her privacy. I told myself I was being paranoid and controlling. $42,000 and 2 years of my life gone. That is what those secret calls cost me. She told me it was her sick mother. She told me to trust her. She told me she loved me. I wanted to believe her, so I did, and I paid for it with everything I had. I met her at a beachside cafe in San Juan, June, around 4 in the afternoon. She was sitting alone, looking out at the water, sipping something pink from a coconut shell. I was nursing my second cup of black coffee, a habit I picked up from 40 years in construction. She noticed my camera bag. That was the first thing she mentioned. She told me she loved photography, that she used to take pictures back in her province. Then she asked if I would teach her. Flattered, I said yes. I pulled out the old Canon 5D and showed her the basics. She touched the lens, called it beautiful. I felt like a man worth noticing. She said her name was Liza. She told me her mother was sick in Cebu, that she came here to find work. Her English was good, but she spoke with a soft accent that made every word feel like a secret. I offered to buy her dinner. She accepted. By the end of the night, she had my number. We met every day after that. She never let me pay for her whole meal, just her coffee. She said she wanted to be independent. That was the illusion. A woman who needed nothing from me. We talked about her life, her dreams. She told me she wanted to travel, to see the world, but her mother kept her tied down. I saw myself in that. A man tied to memories. The first thing that felt off was the video calls. I asked to see her family, just a quick hello. She said her phone camera was broken. Then she said the Wi-Fi was bad in her village. I told myself it made sense. Not everyone has good internet there. But the truth is, I wanted to believe her. About 3 weeks in, Doug showed up at the cafe. Doug is an old expat from Wisconsin, been here 10 years. He's seen too much to trust anyone. He pulled me aside while Liza was in the restroom. He told me she was known around the area, that she dated foreigners with expensive cameras, that she had a reputation. I laughed it off. I told Doug he was bitter, that Liza was different. He shook his head and walked away. I watched him leave, and I felt sorry for him, a man who couldn't find joy in a simple kindness. Liza came back and asked what Doug wanted. I told her just an old friend checking in. She smiled and said, "Be careful of people who are jealous." That landed. I bought her a piece of cake. We talked about her mother's health. She said the hospital wanted a deposit. I didn't send the money that night. I told myself to wait. But she trusted me with her story. She told me her mother had high blood pressure and needed medication. She said she was afraid. I felt needed. That need is what paved the road I walked down. I ignored Doug. I ignored the video call refusal. I ignored the fact that she never introduced me to anyone. By the end of that month, I was in love. I told myself that a woman like her wouldn't waste time on a 62-year-old man unless she meant it. She meant it all right, but not the way I thought it would end. After she took that first money for her mother's medication, something shifted, not in her, in me. I started looking for ways to make her life easier. Then she mentioned my camera. I had a Nikon D750, bought years ago for a photography class I never finished. It sat in my closet in Arizona. Liza asked if I still took pictures. I said no, not in years. She said I should start again. It would be good for me. Then she showed up with a lens, a Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter telephoto. Cost me $1,200. She said she saved from her online English tutoring job. I believed her. She said there was a beach near San Juan where the light was perfect. We could go together, make a day of it. I said yes. I should have asked why that specific beach. The morning we left, I noticed something. She kept her phone face down. Every notification she'd flip it, read it, then put it back. I asked who was texting her. She said it was her cousin checking on her mother. I nodded, but I saw her hands gripping that phone like a life raft. We drove south on the Batangas Highway. She directed me past the usual tourist spots, past Laya, past the resorts, until the road turned to dirt. I asked if we were lost. She said no, the good spots were off the main road. I trusted her. She'd bought me a lens. She cared about my hobby. That was love, right? We parked near a cove, empty. No cars, no fishermen. Just gray sand and a chain-link fence along the tree line. She pointed toward it and said the best shots were from the hill on the other side. I asked what was on the other side. She said a nature reserve. I looked at the fence. No signs, no markings, just rusty wire and a gravel road beyond. I should have seen it then, the way she scanned the horizon while I set up the tripod, the way she stepped away to take a call, cupping her hand over her mouth. I told myself she was being polite. I took a few shots of the coastline. She came back and said I should go closer to the fence for detail shots of the foliage. I walked toward the fence. She stayed by the car. I raised the lens, framed a shot through the fence. That's when I saw it. A radar dish, concrete buildings, a flag I didn't recognize. I lowered the camera. She called from the car, said I should take the shot. It would look beautiful against the sky. I hesitated. Something in my gut said no, but I listened to her. I pressed the shutter. Once, twice, 3 times. She came up behind me and said we should go. She was hungry. I packed the gear and we drove back. On the drive home, she was quiet. Not comfortable quiet, but the kind where someone measures their next word. I asked if everything was okay. She said her mother was worse, needed more medication, cost $800. I said I could help. That night I transferred the money. I also downloaded the photos to my laptop. I zoomed in on the radar dish, the satellite images, the security checkpoint I hadn't noticed. I closed the laptop. I told myself it was a nature reserve. She loved me. I was being paranoid. But I didn't delete the photos, and she didn't ask me to. 3 weeks later, she told me about another location, a mountain view this time. The light was even better. I agreed to go. I didn't ask why she never came with me anymore, why her texts were shorter, why she started locking her phone. I was an old man who wanted to believe, and she knew how to feed that. Without taking another job he didn't believe in. The morning she woke me up at 5, I knew something was different. She had coffee ready, egg sandwiches wrapped in foil, 2 bottles of water in a plastic bag. She told me the mountain view was best at sunrise. I drove. She navigated. We took the winding road out of San Juan, past the fish port, up into the hills. She kept looking at her phone, then out the window, then back at her phone. I asked her if we were lost. She said no, just checking the time. We stopped at a turnout about halfway up. The view opened over the coast. She pointed and said we had to go further. I followed her finger and saw a fence line below us, gray buildings, a pier with a ship. She told me it was a beautiful angle and asked me to take photos for memories. I looked through the lens. The buildings had antennas, a gate with armed guards. I told her I didn't think tourists were supposed to photograph that. She laughed, said it was just the Coast Guard, nothing secret. I took 3 shots. She asked for more. I took 5. She stepped closer and pointed to a gap in the trees. She said it would be better from the next turnout. I started the engine. I didn't say what I felt. At the second spot, she asked me to focus on the pier, the ships, the guard shack. I asked why she wanted so many of the same thing. She said she wanted to remember every detail because she wouldn't be here forever. That made me feel bad for asking. A security jeep pulled up behind us. A guard got out, walked toward us. My chest tightened. He spoke in Tagalog. Liza answered, touched my arm, smiled. She told me he asked what we were doing. She said we were tourists from the city taking photos of the mountain. He nodded and left. I wanted to leave. She said 1 more spot. She promised. We went to a 3rd turnout, closer to the base. I took 3 photos, all of the fence line, the towers, the patrol vehicle. I told her I was done. She didn't argue. That night, she left her bag on the chair. I went to get a bottle of water and saw a folded piece of paper sticking out of the side pocket. I pulled it out. It was a hand-drawn map, fence lines, building shapes, and numbers written in blue ink. Times. Patrol times. 3 different routes with timestamps. 4 in the morning, 10 at night, 2 in the afternoon. I stared at it. She walked in. I put it back. I told myself it was just a map from a tour guide. I told myself she was just thorough, but I had seen the times, and I knew they weren't for hiking. I woke to the sound of her voice. The room was dark, the curtains drawn tight. Liza was sitting on the edge of the bed, back to me, phone pressed to her ear. She was speaking Tagalog, fast, the kind of speed people use when they forget anyone else is listening. My Tagalog was rough, but I caught enough. She said something about hardware, about loading, then a name I didn't recognize. Then she laughed. Not her usual laugh, nervous, sharp. I told myself to roll over, mind my own business. But my hand moved to the nightstand. I grabbed my phone, opened the voice recorder, hit the red button. I lay there, eyes closed, phone hidden under the pillow. She talked for 7 more minutes. I caught the words bait and papers and Manila. Then she said something that made my blood go cold. She said, "He's taking photos of the base tomorrow. He'll be the bait. We escaped during the confusion." The line went dead. She sat there for a moment. Then she slid back under the covers and was still. I didn't move. I listened to her breathing go slow and even. She fell asleep. I waited 30 minutes. Then I got up, went to the bathroom, closed the door, sat on the toilet and played the recording back. Her voice filled the small room, every word clear. I almost deleted it. I told myself it was a prank, a joke between friends, something lost in translation. That's what I wanted to believe. But I didn't delete it. I saved it to the cloud. Then I went back to bed and lay awake until dawn. In the morning, she was sweet, made coffee, talked about breakfast, said she was excited to visit the lighthouse I'd read about. I watched her pour the cream and stir. Her hands were steady. Her eyes were clear. I asked her about the call, casually. She said it was her cousin, just cousin trouble, nothing important. I said, "It sounded intense." She looked at me, just for a second. Something flickered. Fear. It was fear, ice cold and real. Then she smiled her beautiful smile and said, "You know how families are, always drama." Doug's voice came into my head, the driver who met me at the airport. His words were blunt. "This woman you meet online, you know anything real about her?" I told myself Doug was a cynic, old school, didn't trust foreigners. That's what I used to talk myself out of his warning. Now I knew better. I looked at Liza across the table. She smiled. I smiled back. And I thought about the map in her bag, the patrol times, the word bait. I was supposed to be the mark, the one who walks in blind and walks out with charges. She was the exit plan. I told her I needed to check my email, went to the lobby, sat in the corner, and listened to the recording 3 more times. Now I knew what it was. I did not sleep. I sat on the bed edge and watched the clock change from 2 to 3 to 4. Liza was in the bathroom 20 minutes. She always was before bed. I used to think it was routine. At 4:30, she breathed deep. I slid my hand under the mattress. Passport, cash envelope, $300 hidden the first week. I left the camera bag on the chair, left the new phone on the nightstand, left everything she touched. I walked out in bare feet, carried my shoes down the hallway, put them on at the stairwell. The lobby clerk slept behind the desk. I slipped out the side entrance, found a tricycle driver sleeping in his cab, woke him, told him airport. He looked at me like I was crazy. Maybe I was. At the airport, I found a Philippine National Police desk near the domestic terminal. Told the officer everything, the map, patrol times, the word bait. He did not look surprised. He pulled out a folder, thick folder, photographs of 3 women. He pointed to the middle photo. That is Lisa, not her real name. He said she worked the scam for 2 years. Target foreigners, isolate them, set them near the naval base, collect the payoff and disappear while the mark takes charges. He asked, "Did you sign anything?" I said no. He nodded. "Then you are lucky. Most men do not walk away with just lost gifts and hotel bills." I sat in the departure lounge and added it up. $10,000. That was what I spent on gifts, trips, dinners, plane tickets she said she needed for her sick aunt, cash for the hospital deposit. I thought about red flags I stepped over like they were not there. The refused video calls, every time an excuse, bad signal, phone camera broken, shy about her appearance. The pension questions on day 2. How much each month? Do you own your house? Any children paying support? The cousin always watching. That woman at every restaurant, every mall, every tricycle ride. Never introduced, just there, taking notes. Every sign was there. I did not want to see them. I wanted to believe she was different, that a woman half my age could love the guy from Ohio who still says pop, that the universe owed me one good thing after divorce, that loneliness was a valid reason to ignore truth. I flew out of Manila that afternoon, did not tell her, did not answer the 17 calls between takeoff and landing. I let her think I was still in that hotel room, still her mark, still her bait. The officer called 2 weeks later, said Liza left the country, used one of my gift credit cards to buy a ticket to Kuala Lumpur. The cousin went with her. They were already working a new target. I tell this story because I want you to hear it from someone who made every mistake. I did the background check after I should have. I asked the questions after I sent the money. I saw the pattern only when it finished with me. Due diligence is not excitement, not romance. It is a boring, necessary wall between you and a setup you will not see until too late. Check the name. Call the references. Ask for the video call. Say no until you have proof. I got lucky. I lost money but kept my freedom. Some men do not get that choice. They walk into that base with a camera and walk out in handcuffs. The woman who put them there is already spending their savings in another country. I am still in the Philippines, still learning the language, still walking these streets. But I am not the same man who sat in that hotel room believing every word. Now I know the difference between a smile and a setup. Now I do the work before I say yes. That is the due diligence I should have done. That is the lesson I am still paying for. I walked out of that coastal town with nothing but the shirt on my back. That camera? Gone. 3 red flags. Her private calls, her focus on my gear, her keeping me from her people. I ignored them all. Here is the lesson. If someone wants your money or your gear before you have met their family, you are not a partner. You are a target. I am telling you so you do not become me. Do not let this happen. I compiled every red flag I missed into a checklist. Download the expat due diligence protocol. Link in description. $7. I lost $40,000. You do the math. The characters, incidents, and dialogue in this video are dramatized for narrative and entertainment effect. While some events may be inspired by real-life themes, this story is a work of fiction.